Bigger, better, bolder. The cold, hard truth is taking talk to the next level. Right here on Bobo 89.1 FM, Cayman's Community Radio. We are still spilling the tea and committed to being part of the change that Cayman so desperately needs. Join Sandy Hill weekdays from 7:30 a.m. for Premier Access, Cayman Voices, Truthful Thursdays, and much more. Cayman's #1 talk show is now bigger, better, bolder, and more than talk. Getting results with hot topics, consumer reports, court exposés, and more.
I've come to set the record straight. I've come to shine the light on you. Let me introduce myself. I am the cold, hard truth.
Now, from the CMR studio in Grand Cayman, live, direct, it's the cold, hard truth. Now, join the conversation on 345-936-2626.
That number again is
345-936-2626.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. We've got lots going on around the place. I see you guys are taking your time waking up this morning. Don't make me play my wake up song. I know, it's actually a fun song, but we're not going to play it today. All right, let me just check in with everyone, see how you guys are doing. Yes, I see you guys. Honey chill. All right. So hopefully you guys are having a fantastic week so far. We got lots to talk about today, including some of the reports around election expenses. Wow. Couple strange things going on there. But before we get to that, we do have a guest that's going to be joining us in the studio. And then let me start the Instagram feed for all of our Instagram viewers. And then the class will officially begin. So let me just grab their link really quickly. And I'm going to throw in a quick commercial here for you guys and send out the links to everyone so that you guys can find us quite easily this morning as well. All right, here we go, folks. Good morning.
With Miss Melanie Sims.
Oh, my apologies. That's not the one that I meant to play. I meant to just play her commercial. My bad. Give me a second. There we go, honey chill. Beautiful. Nice. All right.
You're ready to elevate your presence and make a lasting impression? From July 28th to August 1st, join Melanie Sims, etiquette expert and founder of Polish Presence Consulting, for Polished Presence Etiquette Week at the Intergenerational Hub on McClendon Drive. This one-of-a-kind workshop blends tradition with modern-day relevance, perfect for young adults, job seekers, new grads, and professionals looking to sharpen their social and professional etiquette. Morning sessions, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., are tailored for ages 16 to 19, ideal for students heading off to college or entering the workforce. Evening sessions, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., welcome professionals 20 and up for a refined refresher in business etiquette, dining protocols, and communication skills. It's hands-on, it's interactive, and yes, there's even an optional upscale dining tutorial to pull it all together. Plus, you'll walk away with confidence, workshop swag, and a certificate of completion. Space is limited, and seats are going fast. Registration closes July 18th, so don't delay. Email info@ppcetiquette.com or WhatsApp 9252913 to register now. Polished Presence Etiquette Week, because confidence never goes out of style.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Andy. I see you. He said he's in Cayman Brac. Beautiful. Good morning, by the way, to all of our amazing people who do watch us from the sister islands, Cayman Brac included. So good to have you guys here. And the Brac, I feel like sometimes kind of gets left out a little bit. So we don't want to leave them out for sure. Peaceful place, despite the fact that this week I was a bit shocked and surprised at seeing the numbers of the native rock iguanas that are being killed in Cayman Brac. Was anybody else surprised by that? I was shocked. I was legitimately shocked because who's running them over? Literally, there's like one road in Cayman Brac. So I don't know how they're managing to do it. But please slow down, I guess, because it's not like 45 of them have been killed in the last couple of years. And I thought to myself, does the Brac even have 45 cars? Of course, I'm being facetious, but you know what I mean. It's like, come on, Cayman Brac, y'all shouldn't be running over. You shouldn't even run over, what are crabs called again? The soldier crabs? Because, my goodness. I don't know what to say with y'all. I was really, really surprised when I saw that story come out asking people in Cayman Brac to please be cautious because you're killing the native iguanas. And I thought, that's pretty crazy. All right, 936-2626, telephone lines are open. Does anybody know where Mr. Oh gosh, hold on. I had to call him yesterday. I didn't get an answer. So I'm wondering if anybody knows what happened to Mr. Dexter. We haven't heard from him in a hot minute. And of course, here on the Cold Hard Truth, we're like family. We miss people when we don't hear from them. I'm missing his jokes. Oh my goodness. Where's Mr. Dexter? Can we put out an APB for Mr. Dexter this morning? Anybody knows where Mr. Dexter is? Please let me know. So yeah, what a mess. Mr. Dexter, we're looking for you. We're a little bit worried about where you're at. Is he traveling? I know sometimes he does travel. Hopefully he's not sick or anything like that, because there's been a really nasty kind of flu bug going around. So let me just call him this morning and check in, because I am a little bit worried.
The number you dialed is temporarily out of...
Why do I keep getting this with Flo? The number I dialed. All right, hold on. Let me message my Flo guy. Flo has been having some issues. Let me just message them, because I don't know what's going on. They've been having some issues, and a lot of people have been complaining that they have not been able to reach people. And of course, Flow TV, ERCO issued a statement about that yesterday, that's still a problem. So no solution in sight. I don't know. Sounds horrible. All right, let me see here now. I'm going to... All right, just messaging my Flow person to see what's going on. Is it my account? Is it, someone said they called me yesterday, and I'm like, you did? Because I have 0 missed calls from that person. So I have no idea what's going on. I don't know. Mysteries all over the place this morning. So let me know if anybody has heard from Mr. Dexter. I'm going to just check in the Flow situation here. And because it could be my account. Maybe it's me. Shall I be trying to remember to pay the bill? I'm going to just go online and double check it. But there was actually someone checking something for me in relation to this. And I'm still waiting on you, Honey Child, to get back to me. That would be nice. Ay, ay, ay. Okay. Yes, slightly blurry this morning. Oh, I am? Let me check it on this other page. Because when I see myself on the screen that I'm looking at, shall I be looking good and smooth? So where are you watching it? Facebook, YouTube. Hold on, let me look on Facebook. Let me see here now. Not really, but I'm not looking blurry to me. Nope, everyone says you're clear, so maybe you need to refresh. Evelyn says, call in Mr. Dexter, please report to CMR. You have until 8 p.m. June 19th to turn yourself in. Report to the principal's office. Report to the principal's office. Yeah, it looks pretty clear to me. So you refresh. Somebody else says, nope, you look fine. All right. Should I take that as a compliment? You look fine. Okay, honey child, you refresh because I think it's on you this morning. Jean, I want to send you something this morning as well in relation to that. I got something for you. And I'm going to just have a quick look at my email. I'm waiting on the first, my apologies, the first guest to jump on. So, yes. All right. I'm trying to get some more dash cams ordered because they flew off the shelf this time, so to speak. I think I have 2 left. And that's it, because I've got 1 to deliver today. So yes, they went very, very quickly. Not wasted, that's for sure. Okay, let me just see here now. Dun, 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 dun. Yep. Okie dokie, Smokey. All right, very good. So I'm going to place my next order of those. And then I also need to order some streaming boxes because I'm completely out of those as well. As I see you guys complain about Flow TV, I'm like, I need to introduce you to something, honey chill. So, need to do that. Oh, Lord, all of this requires spending money. All righty. Okay, we're getting on it this morning. All right, so lots of exciting things going on. Yesterday I went to Beacon Farm. We got a nice little interview. Scheduled for, we're gonna line that up for them. Boy, the mosquitoes, OMG. Can I tell you, the mosquitoes were so thick out there. I mean, like 10 at one time. I mean, I was like, and I said, listen, honey child, we got to go back inside and get some bug spray. Wow. Those poor people who were out there working on the farm, my hat's off to them, because that requires a certain level of dedication. And I know I wouldn't have it, but the good news is I scored me some mangoes. There you go. One of the farmers said, yeah, girl, we be hearing you be talking about those mangoes all the time and how much you love your turn mangoes. I was like, oh, hook up a sister, will ya? Oh, yes, please. So I did get a few. They have a couple of the trees there that I like, which is a local long mangoes. Absolutely big and beautiful trees. So it was a good tour. I wanted to bring you guys up to speed because it's been a little minute now that we have not spoken with them. So wanted to make sure that we know what they've been up to. They do a lot of good work there. So most certainly want to keep you guys updated on that front. Yes. So that will be airing soon. Also did a Cayman Voices interview. Super excited about that, of course. Absolutely love doing those. Lots and lots of fun. We got to do Miss Virginia Bodden, married to Mr. Norman Bodden yesterday, and she is just so amazing. Oh, she is so sweet. Those are the Caymanians of yesteryear that, their temperament was just lovely. Just amazing all around. Amazing, to be honest. Really, really enjoyed my time spent with her yesterday. And one of the things with the Cayman Voices interviews is it does take a minute to get them, a lot of them are actually very, very shy. They don't like talking about themselves, which you can understand. They grew up in a different era where there wasn't social media and all this sort of thing. So you find a lot of them are like, oh, my life is not really interesting. And I'm like, yes, it is. It's interesting to us. And so sometimes it takes a while to get them on board. And then, they're also seniors. So some of them might have different days, where they're not always feeling the best, or they have to just be in a particular mood as well. But she looked absolutely beautiful. Oh my gosh. Had on a nice, colorful dress. And I was like, wow, she's just so pretty. Every time I see her, her hair, I don't know how she manages to do it, but her hair is just immaculate. I mean, always done. Like, seriously. Not, she doesn't have a bad hair day ever. I'm just like, wow. Always has that up in a nice, beautiful, puffy bun. She was telling me her secret during the interview yesterday, when you guys see it, to how she always gets that perfect look. Because I'm just like, child, you don't have a bad hair day. I mean, seriously. But she's just so lovely. Absolutely, absolutely lovely. So really enjoy spending, time with her yesterday. It was so nice. And what's going on here today? Oh, do we have some kind of outage this morning? Oh. What's going on here? Okay, hold on one second. Looks like something strange is going on around the place. But yes, we really, I personally enjoy those segments, especially. And so we've got some coming up that we're going to be playing. So thank you so much to all of the wonderful seniors who agree to do them. And the thing I love about it as well is it is then something that the family members will have as a keepsake of their loved ones, because I'm surprised at how many of us don't really record our loved ones. I don't know. I'm thinking, wow, that would be so awesome to be able to do more. I mean, I'm trying to capture as many as I possibly can. So if you've got a senior and, you'd like for us to capture them, by all means, please let me know. Because yeah, I'm up for it. All right. So there was one other thing that somebody messaged me yesterday about ordering for them, but they said they were going to message me, and I haven't heard from them. So if you called me yesterday morning, shortly after 11, you're going to want to call me about that order, because I'm placing my orders as we speak, honey child. We ain't got no time to waste. So you'll want to reach out to me. The sooner the better. I'm just saying. All right. Let me just see what's going on here. Okay. I think I need to reach out to CNB this morning as well. Looks like the system's a little bit slow. All right, let me message my account manager at Cayman National. Let's see if we can expedite this. Miss Jessica. All right, folks. We got our guests. I heard you just pop in. I heard the audible where you went bling. Okay. Yes. Okay. Yes, ma'am. But now I cannot remember. All righty. Okay. All right. Oh yeah, the bank not even open yet. All right, let me send them a quick message. So Gigi said to me the other day, Mom, you type so fast. I said, yep, and you will too, because you're gonna learn how to type. All right, folks, we've got Dr. Wilton McDonald in the house this morning. Dr. Wilton, good morning to you, honey child.
Hi there, Sandy. Good to be. Well, I think the first time on your show.
Is it really?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I've been away for about 11 years now, but back and forth to Cayman. So
yes. So that being the case, why don't we catch up a little bit, because people might be wondering, where you're at and what have you been up to? So where are you?
Well, I'm in Poland for the most part, but visiting the UK. I have to travel for work. I still manage a law firm, and I'm an international director, and I am assisting Indigenous people in both Africa continent and Oceania in various projects. So I'm definitely on the go. But Poland is a sort of hub for me because of the family, and my wife being Polish. I made a promise to her 5 years into the marriage to move. So this is where I'm at in Poland for right now.
Right. So thank you so much for giving us that bit of information. So Poland, what time is it in Poland at the moment? It's almost 3 o'clock.
It's coming up on 3 p.m. and it's Corpus Christi. So they have way too many holidays in Poland. So I'm actually in the country. As you see, they, rustic sort of, they have some ancient relics in this room. But yeah, I'm actually not at my home. I'm actually in the country today, being Corpus Christi.
All right, beautiful. And what is the weather like there during the summer? Is it hot like Cayman, or what are we looking at?
It's a mixed. Now we have this, up and down with weather. So we have a long fall and a short spring and short summer. But now today, I think it's about the low 80s. It's pretty warm today. Most days it's either between 70s and 80s Fahrenheit.
Okay. All right, very nice. All right, beautiful. Well, you keep busy. That's the one thing with you. You're not sitting back on a permanent vacation all these years that you have been away. So I know that you'd mentioned to me that you're also working on your third PhD. Is that right?
Yeah, I've been to about 12 universities. I know. NCU, they're compiling a legacy book. So they're including myself, my dad, who is still residing in Cayman. So he's Dr. Wilton 1, I'm the second. But it's been that meandering trip, knowing that I've lived in different countries and being attached to, a minimum of at least 12 universities. not including the correspondence courses at Berkeley and other places to complete my programs. But I think people well know that I've been studious. I've been someone who went off to university when I was just about 15 and completed the first 3 degrees by the time I was turning 19.
Wow. Would you be offended if I said you were a nerd?
I lost the glasses, but now I need reading glasses. I'm turning 50, so, but I'm not offended
That's
at
a
all.
compliment for me.
I'm
I
not
love.
offended. I
Yeah,
encourage my
awesome.
kids to be nerds, but
Yes,
they're way too
absolutely.
too
To
cool
me,
for the label.
no, to me, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Obviously, a very, very smart young man. And, what pushes you academically? Is it just that you love to learn?
I just found learning to just come easy. I mean, I could never master an instrument, but and I'm not trying to talk
Interesting.
it up, but I had the support of my parents, encouraged me. But when I was 9, pretty much a self-starter, besides just to study, to read on my own, and just had a thirst for knowledge. And TV was not in the house, so I found my time to program and to do other things. So it was
Right.
it lends itself to a lot of reading and constant studying, reading the encyclopedia for fun, just learning fun facts. And it's in that sort of framework that I was able to just just be curious to read outside my vocation, not just law, economics, finance, accounting, but also now with the study that I'm doing with the next higher doctorate to look at history and in the context of the 19th century. So it's really, if you boil it down, what is the prototypical Scotsman? Is it going to be haplogroup R versus E? And I think that's as far as I can reduce the thesis statement to the working hypothesis. So R versus E. It's an intersection of a lot of fields. So it's not as simple and straightforward as being like a history project. There's so many. There's geology, there's anthropology, there's genealogy, there's biochemistry. It's just so many interesting, fascinating subjects that I have to get caught up on just to understand the scientific papers, and then take the DNA kits around, and everyone thinks I'm weird and I'm trying to swab someone. But it's fascinating. I mean, I don't have a medical background, but quick study and just trying to prove the point about ancestry, origins, where we all come from. That's been just like a splinter in the brain, because growing up in Cayman, that was challenging. It was not a mold that sort of fit in. Am I a local? Am I an expat? And people of different sides reminded me constantly. And I've grown up out of it. I don't. I use it as motivation, fuel for just life and learning. But it has been.
Let's talk about it. Let me just pause you right there, because there are people listening. Is he Caymanian? Where's he from? So, as simply as we can, let's try to break it down. Were you born in Cayman?
I was not born in Cayman. I was born in the Bahamas.
Okay.
And I still don't have Bahamian citizenship. So it's yeah.
Yeah. So you're born in how old were you when you came to Cayman?
About 4.
You were about 4 years old. Okay. And your parents came here, they both from the Bahamas?
They're Jamaican. They were missionaries.
Okay.
So they were born in Jamaica, and they spent about almost 10 years in Bahamas, and then they moved to Cayman in 1979.
Okay. All right. And so basically born in Bahamas, but Jamaican in terms of
Jamaican, but I did not have citizenship, and that's the real.
And you don't
fuel.
have citizenship in Jamaica either.
That's a jet fuel that sort of motivated me. People don't realize it's just I didn't have a citizenship at all. So anything scholarships, I just entertained all the excuses all the employers had why they couldn't take me on. And again, it is just the rules and regs and what happened back in the day. But 26 years just living in a state of statelessness, that does something to a person. So it hardens you. So when people say, "Oh, you've been gone for so long," well, I am a citizen now, But when I really, really needed it, it just wasn't available. So I'm just a person belonging
Yeah.
to the planet. And it makes me pliable to look and explore these topics and to be dispassionate. There's been a lot of passion, but to be dispassionate in this case would be objective, because we have some serious topics, and a person who does not lead into the segue into GTR and what I chose GTR. I love cars. So make no mistake, everyone knows I like cars. So GTR is not Gran Turismo racing; it's Genesis, Timeline, and Roots. And in the last 5 years, I've just been taken as a hobby to help to people explore, connect with their families. Interesting to research my namesake, McDonald, and what constitutes a McDonald. As a reason to use the statement, is the prototypical Scotsman a haplogroup R or an E? I'm an E. And there are a lot of Caymanians who are finding out that they're E's too. And what it is, it's just DNA box. It's a classification for men and women. And they put you in a box based on your ancestral path out of Africa. And that's the migration, but there's a lot, that's the problem, is that in every topic that you want to take up, every book you pick up and read, I know there's some voracious readers around, but you have to have a framework. A person who doesn't have a timeline, it's like a person walking around without a skeleton. You need to have that timeline, because that timeline will help to put subjects and topics in context. So when I think and say about genealogy, about where this person is from, what timeline, what time frame are you talking about? And that's what I explore deeper in a video and a book. So that's to come. And your colleague is helping me with the edits and the video. That's an important first step to understanding all these topics and subtopics.
Yes. Okay. All right. So you're going to be joining the CMR family, the bottom line, with your own show called GTR. And so if you can summarize it for us in 2 sentences, how would you I know that's going to be hard for you, Wilton, because you are very verbose. But summarize it for us. What is this show really all about?
There are 2 aspects just to GTR, and that's not counting the starting point. There are 2 aspects of GTR, two aspects. The Genesis timeline, which is a simulated timeline of events from creation to the present. And the second component would be roots, the genealogical aspects, which ties into the timeline. How did I do? That's best as I could write, but it involves eschatology, last day events, but also the origins of man, the difficult questions that are often passed up. Okay. All right.
Well, it's going to be a very, I think, interesting show, because there's not a lot of us that have any idea on this topic. So I think people are going to tune in just because they're curious about what GTR is all about. And I think that once you start to share the journey and share what you have discovered, undoubtedly, there will be people who might also start their own journey of exploration into who they are, where they've come from, and that sort of thing. So have you spoken? By the way, Lisa says hello. She said she was with family last night and that they miss you and the family. So I'm kind of wondering, the segments that I've been to before, there are some people who are definitely dabbling in this from a Cayman perspective. What are Caymanian roots? We have people like Oliver Watla, for example. We have Miss Kathy Frazier. They have both done quite a significant amount of work in the area of Cayman genealogy and putting it in. Now, I know yours will go much deeper than that, but I'm curious to know, are you just looking at the genealogy timeline, or do you get into any of the historical bits? Because one of the takeaways from the segment I remember at the National Archive many years ago going to with them is that, you have this genealogy pathway, but then you need to listen to oral stories in the Cayman context. So for example, your mama well, it's hard to deny who your mama is, but you know, your daddy, not really your daddy kind of thing. Like people raise children sometimes as their own children that weren't necessarily for them. And a lot of times it was like the little town secret, you know, everybody kind of knew, but there was some that genuinely no one knew. And so that added a degree of complexity for the Cayman history, if you will, the history of our people and who we are. There were genuinely a lot of people who had no idea who their fathers were. Do you get into any elements of that at all in terms of like the oral history of genealogy, of the stories that lead us to know who you are and who you belong to?
It's interesting that you said that because in not giving away, you know, too much, but I respect everyone that's just taken their own path and documented their family lines. Oliver, yes, I know him personally, and yes, he was one of the inspiring points and persons who just got me onto this path, looking at his family line. What I've done in my journey is look widely into all the world. I mean, 119 countries, just looking through, you know, entire globe and tracking it and coming back to Cayman. And I found there's at least one Caymanian, Mario Ebanks, and he was able to help me with this research. He went to Florida. He got a lot of records, and he was able to put 40,000 names, and I really levered off that info. But a lot of the work that I did from Jamaica, tracking families coming from Jamaica to Barak and Cayman, the stories are important. You have to look at it from, I mean, there's so many aspects to this. It's not just the stories, but the DNA evidence and testing in independent labs. I can't stress that enough, because when you look at those companies, and some of them are bust, you know, 23andMe, but when you look at the serious companies, they tend to be owned by one particular set of folks on the planet. When you go to private labs and you analyze the DNA, you will get different results and then import those results back. That gives you a full picture, because the narrative is you're an E or you're African, and they're quick to just label a person of color as an African. I don't have a problem in being an African. The problem I have is, okay, if I'm also European, Scottish, and I can demonstrate it. I've met a cousin that's 107 years old, still alive, and telling me stories. Goes to your point about stories. He can share in-depth reports, just like I got my father to start talking about the songs that he used to sing, the very old Scottish Jacobite songs, and his father too. And that helps to cement by talking to the old people. And that's why I encourage people to go and find their oldest and relatives and speak to them to get these sort of stories to kind of fill in the gaps, because you can't rely on records alone. I know some genealogists, I'm not criticizing their work, but they rely heavily on records to alone. You know, anything can be sort of doctored, but, you know, you could just rely on one source. You have to look at multiple sources. And back to the timeline. Does it make sense given this timeline which you need to establish? You if you don't have a timeline, you have no context. You will be able to say, well, this thing is 500,000 years, and it becomes at some point so irrelevant that you don't know what you're looking at anymore. You're talking about forests and the trees. Sometimes you can't even see neither of those. You just see the sky. You have to have a proper timeline, and that's why I stress it. And that's why in this particular this show is to cast light on the timeline. If you can put that, everything else can fall into play. All your stories, all your rich history, all your data, you will then say, well, this kind of makes sense because this is an agreed upon timeline that makes sense, and it'll make my work sort of come alive because I'm adhering to a timeline.
Yeah. So what for listeners, for the benefit of our listeners, will your show expound beyond just genealogy? I mean, that's where you're starting, but how many episodes could you possibly get out of that discussion? A lot of people might be wondering, well, how much can we talk about that? Give them an idea of what else you have got in store for them.
And okay, so there again, two components. And the first with the Genesis timeline, they have
Mhm.
a number of stories. Big, it goes to color, to origins of man, dealing with theology, and again, the deeper ends of eschatology and last day events. There's a whole series of subjects and topics that you could talk about. Even you call it the cabbage babies. I mean, that's probably the most controversial hot button topic there is. But that's something to think about. Even before the World War I, World War II, you had the proliferation of babies just popping out of the scenes, and that was just glossed over. So we have sort of topics and subtopics in the timeline, but then the roots and genealogy, I would love to feature and help people, persons who would come forward and write to me in open dialogue. I have a problem and I have a roadblock. I have this relative and I could present cases with their permission and they can come onto the show and actually say, well, I have a problem getting past this point. I have a
Mhm.
genealogical roadblock and I can assist because my family tree, not posting, is one of the largest trees. I mean, I'm over 700,000. So I'm over with genealogical and DNA, tested, peg points. I have grown a tree that large with multiple sources, probably more than 10 million sources by now. So
Mhm.
it's a tree that's significant, and
Mhm.
I can help others sort of overcome those
Mhm.
obstacles
Hmm.
and roadblocks.
Well, we do have a caller in the line, so let's take the caller. Good morning, caller. And Wilton, just check your phone for me. I actually message you in the chat as well, but just have a quick look at that. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Morning.
Good morning.
I was wondering, would he be willing to like assist other people in like finding relatives and stuff like that? Like say they have a sibling or someone that was given up for adoption and they're trying to find them.
Mm.
Is that something that he would do as well? I think that would make for an interesting show.
Mm. And maybe interview people that have been on that journey, because no doubt that's a very, very interesting journey. So, all right, thank you so much for the question. Wilton, might you be willing to help people who are
Yeah, yes, I certainly would be willing to help. I mean, that's what I do pretty much every day. And given my time and the problem with my load, if I'm needing more time, I sleep less. But I'm really interested in just helping people. I've been doing that almost every week. I have
Mhm.
2, 3 cases where I am assisting people actively with their family lines and issues. So I'm happy to volunteer my time and to assist. That's part of the reason why I decided to go with this program to assist
Mhm.
people to discover their own roots.
Yes. Well, I have certainly done mine. I think a lot of people have heard me talk in the program about 23andMe, but now unfortunately that company went bankrupt and they've sold it. I know the U.S. government is trying to put certain perimeters in place in terms of the protection of the data sample. I opted to just delete mine, given their circumstances. I didn't want my profile being sold, to somebody else. But I have done the other one as well, the ancestry.com. And it is very, very interesting because, as you say, a lot of us are of some sort of mixed ethnicity, I guess is the right word, maybe a genetic makeup, because ethnicity is probably a very different technical term. But yeah, I mean, I was surprised by the rounded up to 20% European connection, because, again, you look at yourself in the mirror and I don't really see European. I would have banked in 20% Indian, like American Indian,
Yeah,
not from
but
India,
but,
India, but
but
we can't look in the mirror and have that be the determining factor of what that genetic code looks like. So that's why these things are so incredibly interesting.
well, a bit of fortuitous. But if you look at it, there is autosomal DNA. So you have a very limited DNA testing by most of the companies
Mhm.
until you go scientific and you have to have a man. And I don't mean in a sexist way, but with a man, he has a Y chromosome that's studied. Now, that enables you to track back even further in your human genome. You can go back hundreds and thousands of years. But the standard test you do, 23andMe, will only test 2% of your entire genome. And yet they tell you what you are. But in my case of my dad, they labeled him as 93% African, but he was always 80% Black, call it Black, Hebrew, 80%, and then 20% Caucasian. And I call it Caucasian, not European, and deliberately come out in my series, not European. But that changed in a matter of just a few months. It changed the profile, and a lot of people lost matches. They used to connect with people all over the world, New Zealand, same, and in the Caribbean, you lose a bit of your identity because they're now telling you, and they're very eager to label almost everyone that's melanated as just African alone. And I think that it does a disservice to those who have more complex, backgrounds, just trace their roots to other places like Europe. And then you have the new sources. I'll go into it. You have about so many sources that are coming out in the last 5 years alone that's challenging the status quo. And that's just rocking the boat in a major way as far as who we are. Blacks were pretty much in Europe. It's just coming out. They're in Europe and up to 1800s. It's not like thousands of years. And that sort of makes sense when you look at those person melanated versus non-melanated today. And you have to look at the numbers and say, well, it doesn't make sense. History clearly doesn't make sense. The way in which it's described and the numbers you see today versus white versus Black. So I'm not trying to delve on color, but color does matter, and it influences how you view yourself. But if you want to drill down to say who you are and where you come from, those are all deep existential questions. They're deep questions that need to be addressed and answered. And I would love to help guide people. But for now, the program is a simulation. I have to stress it. People freak out. It's just being factual. A lot of the primary sources I'd like to get my hands on. Right, frankly, there are places that I'd love to visit and go and get a badge and go visit. But then for now, it has to be a simulated exercise into this sort of timeline. And I will go into that segment by segment, but it's ethnicities change almost every week, every month, and it's just like a game. I mean, I think someone asked Oprah to, what are you? You want to be Nigerian or you want to be a certain tribe, and then they just made it up and said, yes, that's what you are today. So it's game playing, and it does matter to people because people are searching for relatives, searching for paternal, maternal links, and that's clouded because people do have their agendas and they want to just, they want to just paint the world that this is how it is, the model. Don't rock it as a status quo. You are melanated, so you belong here. Well, there are many exceptions. There are many exceptions, and I said I found a 107-year-old cousin, and that's just God sort of led me to that person because that person has just opened up my eyes in a lot of ways. And there are other bits of my journey, North Africa, and looking at Roman exhibits in Wales and seeing, Negroid features of Romans. And then my favorite painting of all, the quadrille, which is on all my social media sites, showing 4 Black kings in Europe. And these were doing a quadrille dance in Poland, where I'm living in the year 1706. That is an authentic painting. How do you explain it? Those things have to be at least explained in a timeline, and you can't just gloss it over. And that painting, by the way, in Dresden, Germany, is not on public display. And I asked them about it, and they hee-hawing about it, and they just never gave me a straight answer. So there are things that we have to make sense out of almost what is this noise. And you can read widely, but there's a lot of books that have like half truths. And part of this exercise is to identify. In fact, in my credits and bibliography and this video I'm doing, I'm highlighting actual book materials where I would say that this is dubious, this is spurious, this doesn't even make sense, and I'm highlighting those. Bayeux Tapestry, the Anglo-Saxon Chronicles, the Book of Renania, and I'm just making people aware as they read, but be careful on what you're reading, and there's a lot of half truths, in books pertaining to this subject, to this field.
So interesting. So Andrew says this is a very critical subject as this opens up a spectrum of our history and culture. who we are and our ancestry. Foundation of a building has to be strong to support the future life of the structure. So Andrew sounds like he's going to be a top fan there, tuned in every single week. El Rey says ancestry DNA tests examine a portion of your genome, specifically around 700,000 locations, using a microarray that analyzes single nucleotide. Oh my goodness, he's coming out hard with the words, polymorphisms, SNPs, and this is a subset of the full genome and is not a complete sequencing. While 700,000 locations is a significant amount of data, it represents less than 0.1% of the entire 3 billion base pairs in the human genome, according to the sequencing.com and ancestry.com. Wow. El Rey, you could be co-hosting with Dr. Wilton.
Yeah, the SNPs, but you're not going to really truly get at the SNPs until you do a big Y test. You're not going to get much. It's projected information when you're dealing with autosomal. Autosomal DNA is only good for 5 generations. It's 100 years barely. When you want to drill down into the SNPs or STRs, single, tandem, repeat, or these other terms that help to analyze your whole genome, you have to do a male sort of bias test. You need a man, because the man will possess the Y and the X. The problem with the X is man carries an X and the woman carries like 2 X's. So it's like, which X is it? But the Y is very distinct. It's like a fingerprint, and you're able to analyze across, hundreds and thousands of years. And that's where you can pick up significant, but independent lab analysis always helps, when you enhance and enrich your analysis. There's another comment about cabbage.
Yeah, Tartarian says, from the Cabbage Patch babies to the mud flood and the Tartarian civilization, I'm interested. Caymanian shipbuilding skills could be linked to the Tartarian civilization, ? So fantastic. Listen, you got some fans. They obviously will be
the cabbage will be a whole segment, because they suddenly appeared and they want to chalk it up that the asylums and the orphanages were due to World War I and II. But this was 1800s. They even had babies being sold in Sears Roebuck catalogs for $3. But this was the proliferation. They didn't have any Asians or black babies. It's just whites. And then they had black mothers nursing them. And that's, there's a fad trend. This was happening. This is literally happening in the 1800s, and a little bit in the 1700s, but 1800s. This is part of our history, folk. And when we have a seafaring tradition, and I chose this room. When you look behind me and my wife's ancestors, I had a conversation with her, and I said, okay, Lena, what about your relatives? Because when you look and research more about the cabbage babies, you'd find that a lot of the whites, they simply, like blacks, we don't know our history too. But when you get us talking, when I got my 107-year-old black cousin from Scotland talking, he lives in Trinidad. He was from Grenada, born in Grenada. You hear the stories coming out, but they're drawing blanks. A lot of them, even my namesake Clan Donald, the whole estate is for sale. They're totally for sale. They're selling out. Kid and caboodle, everything is. So they are not even sticking to the narrative. They're not understanding where they're coming from. And it's like, poof, babies actually appeared. And we have the question. So if you have a planet that was pretty much black in the 1700s, and then 1800s it changed, what accounted for the change? And why did you have all these orphanages which are no longer existing, and asylums? Did they lock you up because you didn't go along with the narrative? To simply lock you up then and commit you? But there's just to answer and address these questions, you need to have a timeline, and you need to have these events that I've discussed as topics on the timeline to, flesh it out and say, well, does this make sense? I add it or subtract it. You need to have it. A person without a timeline is a person walking around without a skeleton, or a person trying to write an essay and not having an outline. And we know for the essay writers how important it is. You need to have a timeline, and people have been giving away free passes. That is what's been happening. And we just, this is not relevant. Oh, Jesus is white. Oh, sure. Yeah. But, it's okay. It's fine. So these things need to be viewed in context, because you remember the Jewish calendar is like 5,000 years, Sandy, 5,000 years. So for 5,000 years, it's not millions of years. but yet you have a certain color that's assigned to ancestors, and then you want people to connect to them, and they look at you and they say, well, you don't quite belong. And immigration is very topical. You saw even the riots in the UK, and even now what's happening in California.
Yeah.
Who belongs? This is very much relevant. So we could have even a segment on just immigration for those who claim to be indigenous. And I'm even helping indigenous right now in Oceania, like real indigenous people.
Yeah.
So all of this, stems from understanding who you are, where you belong, and if you could defend that. That helps to understand yourself, and then we can have a proper discourse. But people are lost in the minutia. They're lost in that. I mean, they have a lot of books about nonsense, and you can read and be that voracious reader. But if you're reading half truths and nonsense, it comes out to garbage in, garbage out sort of thing. So GIGO.
So how do we, from the perspective of your show, how will you resolve or not get involved in the minutia? Because the argument could be easily made that even this morning you are talking about the minutia of it because you say the minutia matters. But how do you not get lost in that? How do you raise the conversation to like a higher level discussion, right? So there are people who this morning already like, oh my gosh, Dr. Wilton has lost me. I don't know what he's talking about. Al Ray admitted to just copying and pasting. So here I was thinking he was a voracious reader and knew a lot about, DNA profiling and how Ancestry DNA does it. He just copied and pastes. So does he really have an understanding when he copies and pastes? How will you interact with your audience to ensure that they comprehend and that they understand not just the minutia, why it matters, but you raise the conversations like a totally different level? How are you going to make that mesh?
I think it'd be easy to even bring on persons. I have specialists, people who are teachers. One of my biggest role models is Dr. Marie Charles. She's published 20 books, and she has a way of simplifying things and topics for people. Having someone like that on my show, she agreed to even be a co-host, and she lives in London. So to enrich the program, because again, I'm a non-scientist, I grant it. And I have things, I grasp them because of my study, learning, and got it. But to break it down for the audience and to make it that simplified, having someone like a co-host on, I have chosen people. There's Anita Wills, who's a specialist in Native Americans, their history. There's Dr. Charles, and there are others. Even a guy in South Africa that's doing a motion picture on the early life of Christ, and based on sources that they're put, because we know about Christ at 30 and into his ministry, and then he died. But how about the early years of Christ? So looking at it from standpoint, and then Dr. Jensen, who's a Harvard PhD, he runs what's called the Genesis Project. So there are people that I can call upon, and I will call upon and add them in when we have complex subjects, especially when we're talking about the DNA analysis. I will bring them on board and to them to simplify for the audience.
Yeah, well, that sounds fantastic. Well, Miss Anita even says, fascinating. I look forward to Dr. Wilton McDonald's program. Buenos dias to Miss Alba. Carolyn says, God is good. Looks like she's going to be enjoying your program as well. So undoubtedly, the area that your show will cover can have some controversial elements to it. How do you handle the controversy from perhaps people in your life and even people in the academic world, or just regular people in the community who say, do we really need to, we're living in 2025, which is an era where we're all extremely mixed, and they projected that the average person in 20 years is going to be so much more of a mixed origin, and they're going to look like this, and why does any of this really, really matter in the context of our lives today? So how do you handle the controversy surrounding this topic?
With lots of love and a delicate touch. It's not easy. I have a white Polish wife, 20 years. People realize I have an Indian mother. I have a mixed race dad. So there's that diversity in my family. I have in-laws, which I love and adore. And again, I am, and I have many friends in Cayman. Cayman is a diverse place. But one has to look at this because, when you look at the stats among us, we still have a sense and air of entitlement by certain groups that exist today. If I quote and just tell you, out of 57 million millionaires, less than 1 million would be deemed Black. That's unconscionable. That is disgusting. I can understand the billionaire list is 3,100. You have 23, including MJ and Oprah. That's obscene. And if you look at it from lenses that the planet was a lot less diverse just literally 250 years ago, what happened then in the interim? We have to, like South Africa said, truth and reconciliation. That's what I'm about. And if anyone understand me and what yes, I get fired up at times, but it's truth and reconciliation. We need this because you know what? In these times where everyone's sort of catching hell and the cost of living, we need to find a way to equalize the scales and not just look down and say, you know what? You're brown, I'm going to pay you $5. But I'm at a certain even category, race, background, and I'll get my $10, $15, $20. And it happens on every day at every level. And enough is it who gets the contracts, who's in the right club. But color lines, I just quoted the stats. Of the millionaires and billionaires, Blacks don't even account for 1%. That is not just obscene, that's evil. That's crazy. So it's for us to look at how did this come about? We understand from the paintings on the wall that we should be glad to be alive. That's it. Right now, you're brown, you're glad to be alive. I want to change that dynamic, but do it in a sense of inclusiveness, of love and affection. Knowing I have a mixed background and I have a diverse background, but we need to find a way to move forward. And that's probably one of the driving forces of the show, because we have all these disparities and we keep talking about it. Yet you got people digging stuff out in Africa at $1 a day, people making things in China till their fingers burn off, and other people with 10 jets and 20 jets and 50 jets and 500 houses that they can't live in. How much bums do you have? How much bodies do you have? This is obscene. It's literally obscene. So this is something that has to be addressed. And all of that, these things that we're seeing are the cobwebs. We need to address the spider in the room. And this is the timeline, race, equality, the sense of entitlement because you're a certain color. I mean, it's been weaponized. That's what it has been weaponized, even though you don't want to talk about it. But we need to bring this out in the open, talk about it, and say, look, you had humble roots, and I can show you had humble roots. You just, didn't get the castle. That story is fiction. That's like King Arthur. And you need to come to grips with yourself and come down from your loft because it's, and the indigenous are waking up. And that's what's kind of rocking the boat. Those are the kind of spiders, not cobwebs. Those are the symptoms. I don't know what is the disease, but those are the symptoms. You're seeing what's rocking the planet because of the global financial system, which I've studied and been a part of. The underlying assets are being called back by the indigenous, rightfully so, because, as I said, 250 years ago, the planet was Black. How do we get from that point here to accept and understand South African model may not be perfect, truth and reconciliation? And we find a path forward. So it's a delicate touch that's needed to address the disparities in wealth, the sense of entitlement, and it's in every country. And in Cayman, no different, because you have families and again, we see it every day. It should not be. You should understand that you should be grateful, of course, of what you have. In Cayman, we live a privileged life, but don't use these are some things will have to be corrected. It's about time that they be corrected. When you look at the historical pathways that we set ourselves, we're entitled to this because we colonized or we worked the kind of things that I was told. I was on a show and I heard what Nikki had to say about Cayman royalty. The kind of comments that I have had to endure about being a sort of brown Scottish person, you may want to hear that. But what's out there as far as people's perceptions, I get less of it now because I just use the block button and block a lot of people. But when you look at it, people have this thing in their mind that if you're talking something that goes against the grain, you know, you're an extremist, or or you're this. So yeah,
Okay.
but I wanted to correct some of the narratives. But
Yeah.
need to be
All right.
corrected.
We've got a caller. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program. Question or comment?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I had a, I've seen this done in another country in Iceland, right? Where when people go on dates in Iceland, there's this app that it's developed by the Icelandic government, where say I go on a date with you, I put in your name, or you put in my name, and then we see how related we are, and if we're related, we just call the date off. And I was thinking, why can't we in Cayman have something like that, like a national database or a national family tree, and then people can just figure out, well, who is who? So you remember the old days, Sandra? People used to say who your mama is.
They're still saying it, honey, chill.
That's
why I say some of them don't know who their papa is, but they know who their mama is.
But yeah, like I wonder, Mr. Wilton, if either Mr. Wilton would work on something like that. I mean, that's a massive project, but
Yeah.
it seems right up his alley. And like just to have a national database of families, and you find out who you're gonna find out who giving who bun and who not giving who bun, and who get jacket and who get all them things, right? But still, we would you'd be able to see how related we all are.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I think that's part of the maybe larger project, but yeah, no, it's very, very interesting. Now, I do have a controversial question for you. Thank you so much, caller. Appreciate it. And hopefully you can expand upon, and like I said, there are people who have made a lot of research, who've done a lot of research already here and have made strides around this specific topic. In fact, again, going back to Oliver Watler, I would, say reach out to him, because I think he should be one of your guests, and so should Miss Kathy Frazier, because in the Cayman context, they have an amazing existing database of research and connections. And one of the things that Oliver was able to discover, I remember this from his talk, and this was, oh my gosh, this would have been back in probably 2013, 2014 when I went to this. I only remember the dates because I forced my now husband, then boyfriend, to go with me, right? Because I'm thinking, if we're going the long haul here, you need to know a little bit about Caymanian madness and how this all works. So the National the archives was having a discussion, and they were the guest speakers. So I said, listen, come with me. And it was very, very fascinating. And he talked about, for example, he's a Watler. And you know how there's this diatribe in Cayman that there's two sets of Wattlers. There's the white Wattlers, and then there's the black Wattlers. And of course, the white Wattlers, they think they all of them think that they're not black and whatever. And what he discovered when he did his research, which I thought was so interesting, is that they all are family. They all go back to a single pair of brothers that came from Europe, I think, maybe the UK or Scotland. I can't remember exactly which country, probably the UK, but they came by way of Jamaica. So they went to Jamaica first, settled in Jamaica for a little bit, thought, okay, that's not going to work out. Let's keep going, and moved on to the Cayman Islands. Two brothers. Now they came here. One brother liked the sisters with a little bit more melanin, right? So he married that line, and that has continued. And the other brother married probably, a fair Caucasian person who's probably from the UK like them. And so you have these, it's like a offset from the two brothers, but they go back to two brothers. Like he has traced it back. I can't remember what year. I'd have to ask him now, 1800s or whatever, or 1600s when they first came. Two brothers. So every single Watler in Cayman, regardless of what you look like, how fair skin you are, whatever, you're all cousins. You're all family. And I think that says a lot, because we know that opportunities were often given to people of, whiter skin or fairer skin. And so what that meant is let's just be real here. You had more opportunities, you had more land, you had more access to education. There were things that you were able to do just because you fell on the white side of the family versus, the brown or darker side of the family. So Wattlers, not Walters.
Let me just say, Sandy, that you have the gentleman who called in about the Cayman Family Tree Project. I'm happy to create a subtree. There's more than 40,000 names, and there are links to Jamaica. So many links to Jamaica. It's fused into the main tree, which is over 700,000. So yeah, I'm happy to work on that. On the Wattlers, I get it. And one has to, try and discern if it's going to be paternal or paternal-maternal links. And I've spoken to Oliver Wattler, and he confirmed he is a haplo E, like me. And E is the most populous haplogroup. So I think for the preparation of the audience of the show, just research with E's. E seems to be onward into the, like E is not the first, but surprisingly, there's one scientist, Dr. Jeanson, that said that E is the first haplogroup. So that's pretty much going back to Adam. E is the first haplogroup, and from there would spring forth A to D. So you want to put people in a box based on their migration pathways from Africa. Mm-hmm. E is the populace. E is the haplogroup of Napoleon, of even bad Hitler, of Mandela, of the Wright brothers, of President Wilson. E is the haplogroup which is the most widely tested, but it's the one that has the most prejudice towards it, because if you're E, you're just sub-Saharan, you're African. And E goes back to the Egyptian kings. E is a wide haplogroup. And I'm an E. Oliver confirmed he's an E. So with Oliver's records going back to the two brothers from Europe, that's true, yes. But if you're an R, sorry, you would be, you'd have a paternal, a white grand or great grandfather. And that's not Europe. You may think it's Europe, but it's not. It's Caucasian. It's from the Caucasus, and it's not. So my wife's family, they're all R's, all of them. My dad's mother's father, so Mr. Potts, that'd be his maternal grandfather, was an R. And so I know R's very well. And there are huge controversies on R's, with a lot of problems in testing. And I will go into that in other sort of segments. There's this famous king called Somerled. They couldn't find his body. They couldn't find his head. They said that he was an R. He lived somewhere around the 12th century. And then they derived his son being Donald. Muck means son of Donald. So the McDonalds are assumed to be R's. But the McDonalds are now, they're literally running for the hills. They're selling Armadale, they're selling the lands, they're selling everything out. And who is a real McDonald? Who is a true McDonald? So, and there's a wide family, but there are paternal matches and there are maternal matches, or rather paternal-maternal match. So you may have a Wattler, but they don't share the same patrilineal links. They may not share the same great-great-great-grandmother. So if you have an E or an A or B or C or D, your granddaddy was black. And from Europe. If you are R, you are Caucasian. And that's just the ins and outs.
Okay, let's read a few more comments. All right. Magdalene says, sounds like it's going to be a great show. We'll learn a lot from this. We will learn a lot from this great start. Damien says, even the Caribs and the Lesser Antilles were black. Native American Indians were mixed with blacks. He goes on to say that you're going to be labeled a conspiracy theorist also. Damien says that might expose too much incest. I guess some of that might have happened. El Rey says that distribution of wealth between blacks and whites won't be changing anytime soon. The ratios that currently exist now will remain for many, many decades to come and will change very little in that time. Zoe says, El Rey, why would you want to give your DNA? It's a neat way, isn't it, to get everyone in one database? No thanks for me. Good morning, Miss Barbara G. Island Pearl says, yeah, I can't tell some of them Wattlers that though. They chest very high, very, very high. But the greatest thing is that they know. Well, we all know. So thank you, Island Pearl. Damien asking, why does Cayman have last names that were changed in spelling? Well, for different reasons. Some people just got tired of being another Ebanks, so they put the U in there.
Yeah, like Manderson and Anglin. I didn't know Anglin, Ralston, and Franz Manderson. They're actually Ebankses. They're really from the Ebank stock.
Yeah,
But
yeah. A
they
lot of
adopted
people,
the middle name, or they changed it to Banks, and then
right?
Bawden and Borden or Bowden.
Yeah.
A
A lot
lot
of
of
people
variations.
they were tired of being just another number of, they wanted to be unique and different. El Rey says, curiosity of my family connections. What's wrong with having your DNA loaded in a database? So very, very interesting discussions happening. Good morning, Miss Marva. She says, good morning to her Caymanian family. Now, I've got a very, very controversial question indeed. Now, not to insult you, but I'm going to just read it how the person has said it. They said, but yet he's married to a white woman. Funny how these men who preach about Black empowerment always have white spouses. They give a couple examples here in Cayman. And then they go on to say, and of course, you will address this. They go on to say, as you only get the Scottish from one of your ancestors being raped, and you are a Black man, just say it, not brown, we're all Black. It's a white person saying that they're peach colored. So what do you say to people who say to you, and this is something that we know is a reality here in Cayman, right? There are people, and I'm not saying that obviously you're one of these people, but there are people who marry a Caucasian person because when they look in the mirror, they can't accept their own Blackness and who they are. So they've grown up in a world. When we were speaking to Dr. Carlos on Friday, he talks about the imprinting of our, growing up in particular homes and families and whatever, but we're also imprinted in our experiences as youngsters in schools and different things. If we're teased about, our big full lips, we're teased about having hips and different things that traditionally have been associated with Black people and have been made fun of. I mean, now everybody's trying to get plump lips and they're all putting injectable fillers and whatever. But there was a time that having big lips was characterized and made fun of, and all of these cartoons making fun of Black people. The help me out with this word that I'm trying to pull out of my head. Close to quincentennial, but it is
quinquennial.
Anyway, that's not the word, but the typical, and there's another word for it that wasn't coming to me, I'm not pronouncing it right, portrayal, the caricature of people of color was like the big bumpy rear end, the big accentuated lips and all these other things. And like I said, now people are trying to get these assets.
Prototypical.
Yeah. I don't think that was a word, but anyway, they're trying to get all of these assets now because now it's fashionable. It's crazy. It's crazy to think that Black people are having to get butt injections and BBLs, right? Because we've always been known for being more voluptuous in a way. So how do you, on a personal level, respond when people are critical and they say, but, you married a white woman. Did you marry her because of certain insecurities in yourself? Or you just happen to ironically fall in love with a white person?
And, I just didn't look really at race. But look, I'm influenced. Like everyone, we all are just influenced by what you see, like in media and growing up. And I never I didn't fit into any mold at all. Like at all. So I spent most of my time abroad at traditionally white schools. And that's my story. I've just been abroad for all these years.
So you're saying that you were just surrounded by more white people. So the chances are
long and short of it. That's just, I have been around for I left Cayman when I was
quintessential. That was the word. Thank you to one of our listeners.
Yeah, just to go to university at 15. So I left.
Yeah.
And I didn't spend a whole lot of time with, being in Cayman. So
that is a explanation that makes sense, and I guess we can understand. You, when you're around certain people, you tend to fall in love with probably what you're surrounded by. But there are people in Cayman who, and we kind of know some of who they are, who you hear them talk about, as this person rightfully said, Black power, Black empowerment, but yet they can't ever marry someone who looks like them or fall in love with someone who looks like them. And that is a very innate, it's almost like self-hatred, if that makes any sense. They've got to lighten the next generation in hopes that the next generation will maybe not have as difficult a time as they did. I mean, maybe there's a very logical thing going on in their head where they think about it from that perspective. I don't really know, but and I personally have been on the spectrum. I was married to a white man with blue eyes. I'm married now to a Jamaican Indian. I've dated Black people. I've been attracted to. I've never really dated an African, but there are African men that I find very, very attractive and interesting. I think culturally we probably are too different. But sometimes I even question, do I have a preference? I know I actually do have a preference. And my preference is Indian people, which is ironic because now my husband is Jamaican Indian. But that's just a look preference, right? But if the rest of the package wasn't there, then it wouldn't work for me. And it wouldn't matter as really when you get past the initial attraction, it wouldn't really matter what a person looks like. But there are people who will question, well, why were you married to a white man?
I have a thing with Pan-Africanists, and I have met some of them in my journey right now. I said, look, you just are pro-African. I am all for you and supportive of your journey back to Africa. But what I'm learning and seeing and studying is that the logistics of all this from Africa doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. And I'll go into it on a separate segment. But you have to embrace all of the world because that's what you are. It's like Jesse Owens. He went to the 1936 Olympics. He won 4 golds, but he decided to take 1 medal home. And I made that analogy over and over again. Just take 1 home because it's all he thinks he's deserving. And that goes to our feeling of ourselves too. Yeah, because you should collect all 4. You won 4. You take 4 home, but you only take 1 as Pan-Africans. I'm only from Africa. I'm only in this box. So the world is global. I have made my choice, and I'm married still. It's about 20 years, and there is something to be admired in every person in this world. But yes, it's influence. Your influence in Cayman, the media. Yes, your influence, but what is call it more valuable? I think that's the reason why I even embarked on this journey. Certain terms. Do you know that a lot of presidents' wives were called brunettes? And today, when you say brunette, you think about hair color, not skin color. They were brunettes. They were actually brown-skinned people. And even the word black and I don't want to use the word black loosely. I say melanated.
Yeah.
We tend to put a depreciating factor on our skin, and we need to talk about this and get it out there. When you see someone, you say, well, I need to be careful and cautious. That person is dodgy. Why? And they've done studies on that. The doll studies with kids, and they've done studies, and it's like, who do you find beautiful and even more appealing and more attractive? So we need to get that conversation out, and it permeates everything, all aspects of our lives. But going back to basics, where did we truly come from? And if you find out that there is some merit in the cabbage baby story, and that's where, white, a lot of whites originated from, that's it. They can't go past 1800. Then it's okay. That's your origin. Respect that, and you move on, but embrace and move on. And if you found out that you were from the white Watler and not from the black Watler, which is the black was connected to Europe more than the white, then embrace it. But I think that's what we need. And the comment about, the wealth disparity, this is precisely what is happening right now. And make no mistake, a lot of the resources are leased. They are leased, and the indigenous are coming for the resources. So those that may be riding and high on the hog today, they have a wake-up call in the next couple of years. That disparity cannot last because we are truly stewards. We're all stewards of the planet, but we feel that we deserve less. We could take home the 1%, and then everyone else can enjoy the fat on the hog. But they are programmed that they're from, they call it Africa or sub-Saharan. They're from but with my DNA studies, when I got those major results, I said, well, if my ancestor was hanging from a tree, then guess what? your ancestor was hanging from the limb below or above, but you're in the same tree. It is a fascinating, an exercise where I can unravel and confirm that the route that was made, it was, and I'm just not an anomaly. I'm not just some freak, on the side. I'm actually part of a wider confirmed sort of journey and fact from Europe, from Europe to the Caribbean, and that's where part of our history, our ancestry, and we ought to be proud of our roots, but a lot of us are not because of what we have been wired and programmed with. So it's to help all persons. I know that there are going to be sensitive topics, people who may feel offended because they think that their world is at an end, but times are changing. If you look at what's happening now today, you have to see that things are moving and changing. So I disagree with the comment to say that those wealth disparities will stick. That's impossible. There's so many movement and people that are mobilizing that say, well, enough is enough. We're going to take back our lands, our indigenous land. Without the underlying assets, the financials don't make sense. They don't make sense, and they're going to implode. It's going to implode. You need to gather those underlying assets and secure those, and the people of melanated stock are doing that now in all over the continent, the global south and in the east, and that's happening now. It's and Cayman, again, it's something to think about how we're going to deal with the changing landscape, and all of that is happening right now. It's just not about what we're talking about, but this can lead into a good segue into those things, into the economic points, because those tectonic plate shifts are happening now, right now. And we have to find a way to deal with it. Color is good and all, but you have to look and take stock of where you stand in the global space and be proud of your place and demand your, fair share. Don't take less. And a lot of people in Cayman and the Caribbean, they're satisfied with just taking less because they are buying into that they are from not a sort of royal heritage or links. I tell you, most of it is just fabricated and false. And I could just tell you that, not just me, but people who have written books and published books, like this lady who is my mentor, 20 books she has published, and she did it in the last 5 years. There's a lot of resources that have been popping up over that, even brooches and earrings of Black women. Who is going to cast that as a white person and wear a Black woman on their chest? And those were European jewelry, heads of coins of George III, of what he looked like, thick lips and Negro features, and King of England. So you see that is coming out in the last 5 years. This hasn't been out for a long time, but with that information, the leaders and the population, which is a majority half Black. When you go into places like Laos, like Cambodia, you realize that the color is not, there's only 5 to 8% truly white people in the world. So you have if people wake up and say, oh my God, I asked people in Barbados, I was there a couple months ago, and I'm like, how much white people do you think in the world? One person in the airport said, and I was taking DNA, I was doing my little studies, 50%. One other person said 80%. I said, no, it's a very small segment of the population, but yet they have 80+% of the wealth. And that, we don't get the full picture and story. We don't, and once we wake up, those stats will have to change, and they're changing. People can't see it, but in the last 5 years, there's been a mountain of evidence that destroys the current narrative. And you go to the timeline and try to flesh out these stories, these points, and say, well, where we come from. And that's important to understand where we're headed, where we're going. The saying goes, a person to understand where they're headed, they have to understand where their roots, where they came from. And that holds true here. That there needs to be.
All right. Well, Dr. Wilton McDonald, his show is called GTR. It's going to be on CMR TV. I can assure you that there's nothing else like it anywhere in the Cayman Islands for sure. And it's going to be educational. It's going to be interesting. And you're bound to create some controversy. You're going to learn a lot. It's going to be engaging. And thank you so much, folks. The word that I was looking for is quintessential.
Quintessential.
Yes. So I always have a hard time pronouncing that version of it, but I always say the other one. But anyway, quintessential. So thank you so much, Smith Campbell and a few others who sent it to me. When I see it, I'm able to pronounce it, but in my brain always gets it a little bit tongue tied. But thank you so much. Damon says original Jews were Black. Again, it is a very, very interesting discussion. Ultimately, everyone started from Africa. I mean, all of the, you go back millions of years, and that's where
the timeline. What timeline, Sandy? That's the big kicker.
Yeah.
What timeline? Because that's where it gets foggy and confusing, and then people add their narratives to the story to sell what they want to sell. That's important. Timeline.
All right. So tune in. We're going to be putting together, because we have so many amazing shows. I must tell you, we've got a long list of shows for CMR TV, and we're going to be putting together a full booklet of all of the shows. It'll be a flip book, so you can view it electronically. All of the shows, the host, when the show is going to be on, all that great stuff. And Dr. Wilton McDonald, again, the second, is going to be in the mix. And so look out for his programming. This is such an exciting program, folks, and I want to encourage anyone who wants to sponsor a segment. All of the hosts are looking for show sponsors. You can sponsor by providing a space for those who are on island. You can sponsor monetary. You can do advertising, because the CMR TV is going to be large. There's going to be nothing like it. And I think we're going to have such an amazing audience because of the content being as diverse as it is. There's going to be something for everyone. And so having said that, you're going to love it. We've got stuff for the kids. We've got Sunday, church services and sermons. We are filling out the schedule, and we're still looking, by the way, for content creators. So if you're interested in a show, by all means, reach out to me and I'll tell you kind of how the process will work. So thank you, El Ray. You're definitely going to be a fan of Dr. Wilton McDonald's program, and GTR is the name of the show. And we'll give you guys air dates, like when the original segments will air. He's going to be doing, I think, an evening segment. But yeah, stay tuned for that. And thank you so much, Wilton. Really appreciate it. It was a very fascinating segment this morning.
Thank you, Sandy, for having me. Thank you.
All right, absolutely. And have a good one. All right, all the way from Poland this morning, folks, joining us. And again, this is just the tip of the iceberg. And we are going to have a fantastic time. So Sandcastles, thank you, says ancestry exploration is everybody's right. However, wondering if there would be, if the data presented more of Caucasian origin. Well, tune in, because I think he's going to break it down. Like he said, he's going to have guest speakers. I'm sure he will be showing you diagrams and explaining, because, I don't know what this Y and X and all this kind of stuff and E and whatever, so he's going to break all of that down and explain it to you guys. So that's why you want to tune in from episode 1, from launch date. And he is working very, very hard to start the first week, which is going to be the week of June the 30th. So this is our big reveal or big launch. We're celebrating 8 years. Can you imagine? 8 years of Cayman Mall Road this year, June the 29th. June the 30th, the week of the 30th, we are going full steam ahead with CMR TV. We have some amazing programs in store for you. So I've got a whole list and a whole rundown, but we have other guests coming on tomorrow. They're going to be talking about their show. So make sure that you tune into that, and we'll go through the list. So we're bringing some of them on to the program so that you can get exposure to them. So I do want to spend some time this morning talking about campaign financing. Ooh, honey child. Let's take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back and hit that one real hard. Straight out of the ballpark.
Ready to elevate your presence and make a lasting impression? From July 28th to August 1st, join Melanie Sims, etiquette expert and founder of Polish Presence Consulting, for Polished Presence Etiquette Week at the Intergenerational Hub on McClendon Drive. This one-of-a-kind workshop blends tradition with modern-day relevance, perfect for young adults, job seekers, new grads, and professionals looking to sharpen their social and professional etiquette. Morning sessions, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., are tailored for ages 16 to 19, ideal for students heading off to college or entering the workforce. Evening sessions, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., welcome professionals 20 and up for a refined refresher in business etiquette, dining protocols, and communication skills. It's hands-on, it's interactive, and yes, there's even an optional upscale dining tutorial to pull it all together. Plus, you'll walk away with confidence, workshop swag, and a certificate of completion. Space is limited, and seats are going fast. Registration closes July 18th, so don't delay. Email info@ppcetiquette.com or WhatsApp 9252913 to register now. Polished Presence Etiquette Week, because confidence never goes out of style.
Recover Personal Injury Attorneys, helping injured people get what they deserve. Did you know that insurance companies have lawyers that represent their interests? Before signing and accepting any settlement, know your rights. Call us today for a free consultation at 924-9999. That's 924-9999. Recover. Your personal injury attorneys are on standby to assist.
Crichton Properties is one of Cayman's most trusted real estate companies for over 50 years. We offer a diverse selection of property listings and help our clients navigate the world of buying or selling their properties with confidence. Crichton is a name you can trust with our excellent customer service and family-friendly touch. Contact us today to list your home, land, or condo for sale by calling 949-5250 or email info@crichtonproperties.com. Crichton
For the past 58 years, CUC has strived to be more than just an electricity provider. We have sought to be a foundational company. We give back to our community, and with the hard work and dedication of our employees, we have built and maintained one of the safest and most reliable electricity grids in the region. As we all look to the future, we at CUC want the Grand Cayman community to have confidence that our commitment to you will continue. Join us as we continue this journey together at empoweringcayman.com.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. What a hot mess, honey chill. Everybody good? Class looking nice. All right. So listen, thank you so much, Mr. Dunward. He said, huge kudos to you, Sandra Hill. I feel your upcoming TV channel is going to truly be a trailblazer in Cayman. Well, that is certainly the intention. And one thing that we're going to be getting right for sure is going to be the content. Because to me, that's what makes TV amazing and wonderful. It is the content. Interesting content like this. We've got a show called The Art Beats. I mean, it's just so many different content creators coming together under the CMR TV umbrella as a community. Fantastic segments. So many people writing messages. Oh my God, I'm looking forward to this show and that show. And it's just wonderful. So definitely continue to stay tuned. We're going to have more people coming up who will be participating. And so, yeah, they're going to tell us. And I finally got one other person, praise the Lord, who's going to do a weekday show. She's going to do the evening segment. If you're interested in doing an afternoon segment, reach out to me as well. Somebody said you're going to still call Mr. Dexter. Well, let's call him back. We did try calling earlier. But let's see if we can call him back. But yes, thanks, Gabby, for the reminder. We're missing Mr. Dexter this morning. We just want to tell him that. All right, let's see. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh. Maybe he's traveling. Okay. Nope, no answer. Oh. All right. So there is a little fender bender, folks. They're right in front of the government building between a small vehicle. This one actually doesn't look like a Honda Fit. This looks like it could be a Suzuki. Ran into, or the motorbike, I don't know who ran into who, but a motorbike and a little small car, a little small box car ran into each other. So if you're in the vicinity, I'm told it's not really causing any traffic delays. But please, please, please be careful out there on the roadway, because y'all know, honey, chill. These accidents, what a hot mess. You got to be looking out for you, the other person, and everybody else on the road. So there it is, right there across from government building. So thank you so much to the person who sent that in, keeping us updated on all of the traffic stuff. So Island Pearl says, is your TV platform going to be live streamed, or will it be pre-recorded and then aired? So the way that it will appear to you all is as a live streaming segment. So you will see shows live, but the vast majority of the programming, especially in the early phases, will be pre-recorded and then pushed through to the channel feed as a live show. So, which is what happens with most traditional TV, right? Like when you sit down and watch HDTV, that's live TV, but it's not like they're doing it, cooking that meal right then. It's pre-recorded, edited, and then they put it in the schedule. So my show will be on there in the mornings. My show will be live. There will be an evening show, also based out of Cayman Talk Show. That's going to be live. And potentially a guy out of Jamaica. I'm waiting for him to confirm his show. But some people, Island Pearl, will start out as pre-recorded to kind of get the feel of it, because it's very different to do a live show. Trust me, honey chill. And then eventually they're going to go like live. So Irvelyn says, whoever stole Mr. Dexter's phone, did somebody steal it? Bring it back, please. So yes, and we're going to be rolling it out. Some people are saying, okay, I don't have Flow TV, Logic, or C3, but right now nobody ain't got Flow TV. El Ray, go fix that for us, please. But it will be eventually in those, but we're also going to have a website. So that will be kind of like the primary place that you can go watch it. You can catch up on seasons or episodes or whatever that you've missed. And then we're going to have, whatchamacallit now? We're also going to have obviously YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. So it's going to be on multiple platforms so that hopefully everyone will have access to it. So yes, so rolling out some of those details. Had a comment earlier. YouTuber said, what age are you looking for when it comes to Cayman Voices? 65 and up. 65 years old and up. It's a senior-based program. So any seniors, and man, I'm getting them in their 80s and 90s and absolutely, absolutely loving it. So thank you so, so much. All right, let's talk about money, honey chill. Who got the money, honey? Who got the money? Oh, it's finally fixed yesterday. Oh, thanks, El Ray. There's the update. Flow TV was finally fixed yesterday. Well, I don't have it, so there you go. Good stuff, good stuff. So I can stop hearing those complaints now. Thank the Lord. All right. So let's talk about money and the election. This person says, oh, I love the genealogy segment. I always wanted to know where and what tribe I came from, if such a thing. That would be one of my reasons to travel to Africa. Oh, sounds very, very interesting. Okay, so listen, the declarations were made recently with all of the, what do we call it now? All of the, okay, the declarations were made with all of the candidates having to show what they spent. And so this information was presented and it was sent out. Now, here's the thing. In order to see the full expense report, you actually have to go there. It's a register and you have to see it in person. You can't take photocopies of it. You actually need to see it. And then, I guess, jot down your notes. So I'm hoping that that will kind of change, because I think all registers should be available in an easy public way, where anybody can go and look at it and see what people spent. But anyway, it is what it is. And so let me now share with you some of the bigger stories that are coming out of the filings that people made. First of all, the progressives overspent. Wow. I was a little bit surprised by this. And I tell you what, This must really, as we would say, them young people would say, boy, that butt hurt you. That's a different kind of hurt when you say that butt hurt you. Because, honey child, wow. When you spend that kind of money, they overspent by what, over $200,000? When you overspend by that and you still don't get the government, can we just say that hurts? I mean, they must be besides themselves. They have got to, every single one of them have got to be pissed off. OMG. Like what? Overspent by over $200,000. So my thing is this. What happens to them now that they've overspent by this ridiculous amount of money? You know, the elections law is very interesting because it has all of these do's and don'ts in there. But then when people don't comply, there is a question of how this works and you know, what does it mean? Is anyone truly going to be held accountable? And so overall, the candidates spent around $2 million. Of course, the parties who would be having multiple, candidates running would have naturally spent the most money. But this is just crazy. Over $200,000? No, sir. What a hot mess. So I have up here on the screen the amount of money that they spent. The Progressives spent about $700,000. 700, almost $1 million, and they still didn't get the government? Man, I tell you what, a lot of their supporters must really be ticked off. We're going to talk about this. $700,000? Like what? Lord Jesus, that's a lot of money. So the three registered parties spent well over $1.5 million on the 2025 election. This is according again to their expense report published on Friday by the elections office. Independents spent the remaining about $500,000 more. The Progressives spent by far the most, about $700,000, which is the most of all the parties, on 12 of its 13 candidates, and reportedly raised almost $488,000 from third parties. Juliana O'Connor Connolly funded her own campaign in Cayman Brac, so that's why they say 12 out of 13. She was not in the mix in terms of her budget, and she spent just under $14,000. And she apparently, seems to have funded that herself or raised the money prior to the official campaign period. So the reporting period is a very, specific period of time from nomination day up until polling day. And so either she, spent it before or raised it before, so then she's not obligated to report on that. But this is pretty wild. The Cayman Islands National Party raised just under $35,000 in revenue, but spent over $455,000 on its 12 candidates. Now, this is really interesting because as a new party, they were out there selling this storyline that they had a lot of money and that they were the $1 million club, and they had all sorts of people donating to them. And basically, if you didn't have $100,000 to donate, then you couldn't come in. So again, I don't know if that means that they did all their fundraising before the reporting period, or if that was just a hot mess. My apologies for the crunching. I'm gonna soon stop, but I gotta take my medication, my poor knee. All right. So TCCP managed to raise over $211,000 and spent around $395,000 on the campaign for their 10 candidates. So, and that deficit means that they still owe money to small businesses who would have provided services to them. That's a lot of money that's actually owed when you think about it. So they're in the hole by over $100,000. All right. Several independent candidates reported spending close to the maximum expenditure allowed under the law of $40,000 between March the 3rd and the eve of polling day, although some of them didn't report raising any funds through donations during that official campaign period. So that means that they either got it before or they would have spent it, they would have raised it before or out of their own pocket. Ralston, England raised $39,000 and spent all but $300 of that money. The most of the four successful independent candidates. Isaac Rankin secured his seat as an independent, having spent $27,376, of which $12,800 came from donations. And Jay Ebanks claimed that he spent just $14,417 to secure his seat after raising $8,200. Chris Saunders, the only independent now sitting on the opposition bench, was returned after spending $34,635, of which $14,500 was raised from donations. So in total, all the candidates spent around $1.93 million and raised under just $1 million in third-party revenues or donations during that same time period. So let's talk about the big stories now that are coming out. So, by the way, it says that that there's some people, Lonnie Tibbetts, who was endorsed by the PPM but ran as an independent, filed his report late. 5 other candidates, Jermaine Ebanks Hurlston, Romelia Welcome, Hunter Walton, Philip Ebanks, and Leon Gold, have not submitted their returns. What I'm going to say to these 5 people is, why have you not submitted your returns? Because this is a requirement of the law. You know, listen to me and listen to me very, very carefully. When you decide that you want to run the country, there are things that you have to do that are not optional. And one of the critical things during the election period is you need to be keeping track of what you're receiving just during that very narrow period from polling day, from nomination day to the day before polling day. And, you know, I'm a bit disappointed to hear that these 5 people, these 5 candidates, have not filed their returns at all. There's no excuse for it. Hunter, we know you don't like to follow laws and rules, but come on now, Bobo, step up to the plate. Philip Ebanks, I'm a bit surprised by Philip, because Philip is a lawyer and would understand the necessity to follow the law and to file these things on time. Leon Gold, no surprise there. He probably spent about $200 anyway. And then Jermaine, I don't know what the holdup would be for Mr. Jermaine Ebanks Hurlston and Romelia Welcome, but please file your necessary returns. It is a requirement in the law. And once again, my question becomes, if you don't file, what then happens to persons who do not file? If the law says you must do X, but there's no penalty, does it really matter? All right, so PPM spent the lion's share of the money, and apparently they raised the lion's share of the money as well, with $200,000 coming from a single donor. Now, this was a little bit surprising to me, I'm going to admit. DMS. Wow, Bobo. DMS donated some $200,000 to the progressives? Damn. This is a bit surprising and shocking to me. I'm confused. Hold on a second here. Let me actually find. I'm referring to a CNS article. Let me just try to find it. Who sent it to me yesterday? Because I'm perplexed by this. So it says here, that DMS made a $200,000 PPM donation, the largest of the campaign. So DMS, that's Don Seymour's company, the DMS organization, was the largest donor of the official 2025 election campaign period, giving $200,000 to the PPM. While it's possible that other donors made larger donations to one or more of the parties before the start date of the campaign, which again would be nomination day, March 3rd, the law does not require those donations to be disclosed. Overall, the PPM received more money from donors than any other party, bringing that close to $500,000. $200,000. Wow. That is crazy. So here I'm going to tell you all what the streets are saying about the donation, right? We have reached out to the PPM for an official comment. Let me just check my email to see if Mr. Joey Hugh, who is the party leader, has responded. Give me 1 second here. Because we had a couple questions about this. Let me see. No response, no response, no response. Nope. No response. Just making sure. All right. So we did send him a question because there were rumors afoot even before this revelation came out that DMS made this substantial contribution. And the rumor was this. I'm going to tell you guys what the rumor is. I'm going to leave it up to you. The rumor was that this was the way to... Okay. The rumor is this was to support Kenneth and bring him back into the fold. In other words, they bought his way back into the progressive, and that's how that relationship was resolved. Okay, the parties haven't said anything. They've not responded, but the rumor on the streets was this was the ticket, the price tag to bring Kenneth back into the PPM. If that is true, or if that is even remotely close to any sort of truth, that is absolutely ridiculous. Number one, the worst thing Kenneth did was join back the PPM. So that was money not well spent. And Don Seymour is a smart guy. So I'm a bit surprised that if that was the concept, that made any logical sense. Kenneth was actually probably hurt by being part of the progressives and vice versa. It was a double butt hurt for both of them. So no, it's a little bit crazy if that was the price tag to get him into the deputy leader position, to get him there. And wow, I mean, it's just a crazy contribution no matter what. $200,000. Pretty wild. Anyway, we know that DMS obviously has a lot of money. Don Seymour got, what was it called? Black Unicorn status. First company in Cayman, and first Caymanian for sure, who got Black Unicorn status, which means that his company was valued like at $1 billion, which is like phenomenal and amazing. Child, if you got money to waste like that, perhaps we should talk about supporting some of the independent content creators over at CMR TV. They could use a small little portion of $200,000. That could spread around to a lot of different people. $200,000. And you're still sitting on the back bench. You're still not premier. You're still not deputy premier. You still took a pay cut of over $6,000 a month. Ouch. My bonky hurting me. What a hot mess. Anyway, all I can tell you is that's a shitload of money. Okay. So who else gave them money? $6,600 from Sir Alden McLaughlin. That made me chuckle. Even to him got better sense. I'm just saying. Former party leader Roy McTaggart gave $35,000. Yes, sir, mess with you. Local attorney Graham Hampson, longtime party member, donated just under $60,000. Okay. The PPM also received 25 grand from international businessman Blake Ducharme. Remember him? Remember that was the guy with the big boat, the fast boat and whatever. He's a millionaire. $20,000 from Robert Watler, $25,000 from Kirk Freeport, $10,000 from MedCert Solutions. Who the heck is MedCert Solutions? And $15,000 from Strategic Wealth Foundation, which is an international precious metal dealer. So they were getting money from all over the place. And then we have, hold on one second here, CINP. They didn't seem to have much luck during that time with fundraising. So they received, it says, only $35,000 in donation, about half of which came from donors under the $5,000 limit. The party received $17,000 from Mark Anthony, who now owns the local BK franchise. Of course, that would be because there is an existing relationship there between that one makes a lot of sense because, you know, he would have purchased the franchise from CINP candidate and now deputy premier, Mr. Gary Ruddy. So, you know, they have a relationship there. So that, you know, I can understand that one, but interesting. Since no other donors were listed, the other $420,000 spent by the party on the campaign either came from the candidate's own funds or donations made before the 3rd of March. TCCP, my apologies, raised around $211,000, which included just 3 named donors. Wayne Panton, founding member, gave the party $50,000. Stacy Ottenbritt, a partner of Bliss Capital, gave $10,000. And Chris Johnson, the owner of local insolvency firm and forensic auditor, also gave $10,000 to the new party. The remaining funds are raised through donations of $5,000 or less, or before the reporting period, basically. Okay. Wow. Chris Saunders received $11,000 in small donations. I'm surprised anybody gave to him. No. Yep. All right. Now, the other big news out of this is that the progressives overspent. How do they manage their budget if they? This is so indicative of them, though. Child, let me get a piece of bacon over here, because every time they've been in, almost, they're into big capital projects and spending all kind of money the country don't have. And let's be clear, the last government, the UPM government, was really, progressives. They say they were progressives, 4.0 this last time? So that would have been progressives 3.5, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, they overspent by over $200,000. $220,000. Not an exact figure. It's either 180,000 or 220. They exceeded their spending, and they basically attached a letter of apology to the elections office saying, oops, we overspent. Now, what does this mean when you overspend? Well, the elections office claims that it's an illegal act, and a fine is actually articulated in the law for official political parties. So they should be fined for this. So we'll see. We're going to ask the office. As a matter of fact, let me send that here right now. I'm not going to ask them if you'll be fining them. How much will you be fining them? For overspending? That's the question. Oh, this person says Graham Hampson is married to Joey's sister. Oh, are they still married? I thought he was divorced. No, I'm pretty sure. Well, they were married. So that is his ex-brother-in-law. But I think I think they're actually divorced, you know. Well, I know they're not together. She's traveling Europe, honey child, living her best life. You know what is so funny? Speaking of DNA testing and stuff, she actually showed up as a cousin. On my DNA profile, which means Joey might be my cousin too. What a hot mess, honey child. So that's a lot of money to overspend. And it certainly demonstrates a lack of fiscal responsibility, as far as I'm concerned. No, sir. So they blamed it on a number of different things. They say the decision by 4 candidates, 3 of whom were sitting cabinet members, to join the party after they already had begun their own campaign spending or had committed to spending on materials representing them as independent candidates. In other words, they're blaming people like Kenneth, Juliana O'Connor Connolly. Who else ran with them? Who were the 4? John, and who would be the other one that was a cabinet member? I don't know who else. Julie, John, Kenneth. I'm not sure who else, but anyway, somebody else I'm missing. They're saying it's because they kind of joined late. So they provided this explanatory statement. So yeah, people have confirmed that no, they're no longer married. So they're ex-in-laws. But you know, I'm sure him and Joey probably still have a really good relationship. Because I think they were married for quite some time. All right. So this is pretty wild. Wow. PPM, y'all don't know how to spend within limits. So I'm afraid that's a problem. All I can tell you is they didn't spend any money with me. So I'm not getting none of that $1 million. So pretty much everybody else stayed within the limit, except the progressives during that period. I don't want nobody, who can't manage their own finances, trying to manage the country's finances. Let me put it that way. Anthony says, Sandy, that money wasn't for no Kenneth Bryan. Let's face it, Kenneth ain't worth a dog's ear full of ashes. Dog's ear full of ashes. Alden never like him, don't want him, and only use him. That money was for horse trading the night of the election. Well, there is this question as well of how much of that money was actually spent on the streets of Cayman giving out to people. So El Rey says $200,000 is like $20 for DMS. Really? I need to talk to them then. In that case, we need $40 from them. Oh my God. KY345 says, think who is taking more of a front seat of the party, Joey will soon step aside. Well, there was this rumor afoot that if they were successful anyway, that it was not going to be long before Joey was going to be booted out and Kenneth was going to be taken over as leader of the party. So that would have been another tumultuous situation. Andrew says $200,000. Why? And that money could be used for the needy Caymanian elders and children. KY345 says, not sure why surprise, Sandra, when one really sit back and think hard. Some candidates were trying to form a party with the owner of DMS. Well. Tartarian says the law says if you don't win a seat, you do not have to file. That's how I understand it. That's incorrect. Everybody has to file. Everybody has to file. The law says you run, you file your expense reports. Everybody. So that's not correct. So all of those people need to file. Nothing will be done. Let's face it. If PPM was in violation from early in the get-go, with those signs that were all over the place, the law requires in size, and Mr. Howell did nothing about it, why you think they're going to do, why you think they did what they want. The election needs some oversight. Yes, the signs were outrageous. I wonder how much money they spent on signage, because they were oversized. And this is the most signs that I've ever seen the PPM put up during an election cycle. And, absolutely ridiculous if you ask me. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Oh, Delmira Bodden. Well, I guess she filed her report. I guess it wasn't anything exciting. Okay, so Graham Hampson is married to Susan Oldie. What? He is? No longer married to Lorna. They've been divorced many years. Oldie is his wife. They married very recently. He married the Susan Oldie, like Miss Oldie, the quadrillionaire. Whoa. Now he hit the jackpot. How did he score that? And she's such a nice lady. Oh my goodness. I would have married her. just for access to the bank account, honey Jill. I'd be like, Mama, just give me, you can adopt me. Let's not say married. You can adopt me. I'll be the adopted Black child that everybody feels sorry for, and just give me an unlimited Black American Express card, and honey child, cha-ching, we're gonna be ready to go. Ooh, maybe we should reach out to her for some sponsorship. Wow, that's amazing. That's who he got married to? Ooh, honey child. When people hit the jackpot like that, I'm all about that life. Oh my God. Well, congratulations, sir. Good for you. Philip is wondering, where's Selvin? Shall we call him? He must really be butthurt. He must have hemorrhoids. We have not heard. Let's call him. We have not heard a word from Selvin since the election. He's either got hemorrhoids because he's so butthurt, or maybe he finally got a job. Let's see which one. Somebody said they're not surprised by the overspending because they had Zachary Harding as campaign manager for the PPM. Oh, he's the guy out of Jamaica, right? I heard about him.
Morning.
Hello, Selvin.
Morning.
Good morning. This is Sandy from the Cold Hard Truth. We're wondering where you at, honey child.
I'm still licking my wounds.
You still poor you. But I mean, we're going into July soon. Time to get yourself up. I said you were probably butthurt and had hemorrhoids, I did predict. So I mean, you're over it by now, right?
Yeah, I'm actually busy with work and stuff like that.
You actually working these days?
I've been working.
You've been working, but you always had time for us in the show, and now you've disappeared.
No, it's not disappeared. It's just the workload is significant. Some major projects. So
you've been busy.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I still tune in when I get the occasional time, but
okay. We wanted to make sure you were okay.
I'm an advocate of the program, so I stay tuned, irrespective of party affiliation. I'm a firm believer in democracy and information to the people.
Absolutely. You heard how much they spent in the election? Almost $1 million. The progressives, they overspent by $200,000.
I think what it was is a situation where funds came in late, and most of the other parties spent their money prior to the reporting period, and therefore their bottom line would look much more better. But it's unfortunate. But
for the most established party, you think if anybody was going to spend before the period or be the most organized, it would have been them, right?
Yeah, well, you would imagine, but unfortunately, we're not as the party's not as fortunate as some of the other parties who got millionaires as part of their founding structures.
Say what? But hold on, Bobo. GMS donated, the biggest donor, donated $200,000 to the progressives. Nobody else got
and
that.
That was within the reporting period.
Mhm.
Whereas all the other the two other parties were able to.
But you don't
do all
know
the
that. That's
advertising,
speculation.
Do all the advertising. It had to be. You can do the calculation what it takes to advertise and these billboard signs and the likes, and do the calculation what it takes to advertise at CMR, and you can create a picture that would inform you that most of them did the advertising prior to the reporting.
Lord have mercy. Well, I can tell you one thing for sure. The CINP did not spend a single dollar with CMR. So how do you explain that one?
Well, let's spend it other places.
What a hot mess. Anyway, Sean, you're a diehard progressives. I gotta give you props for riding with them no matter what.
Well, it's not about riding with them no matter what. I'm an objective
come on now,
individual. And I look at
objective.
Well, you must realize that the two other parties who were actually formed within the last 6 months prior to the election.
Exactly. Somebody just said they weren't even formed practically before nomination day. So when would they have been getting money donated?
Well, when the money is within, they don't really need a donation. You can spend from within.
No, you still have to donate it to the party. So I'm not sure what you're talking about, honey child, but listen, regardless, it was nice hearing from you. Somebody said you have such a nice voice. Maybe you should call the program. Well, we called you, but you should call in sometimes.
Well, I'm as I said, I'm always an advocate from the beginning. Remember, from the inception of the program, I was locked in, and I haven't tuned out yet, and I don't intend to tune out because I think the program brings value to the ordinary person on the road. Sometimes I tune out because of the nature of the program, but for the most part, it's information to the public, which I believe elevates the knowledge base of the people, and that to me is always a good thing.
All right, honey child. Well, thank you very much. We do miss you and we appreciate it.
I'm still here.
All right.
Anywhere.
Sounds good. Thanks very much, Selvin. Have a good one.
All right. Yeah, you take care.
All right, my dear. What a hot mess, boy. He can come up with some stories to explain stuff in his head. Not making no sense to me. Philip says Selvin is like MAGA, loyal to Taco to the death. Tweeny Fuss says Caymanians bow down when white people come around. Sad to see the switch in real time. Are we talking about election time again? What are we talking about, honey Jia? Anthony says he's got to be in the payroll too as a spokesman. If he isn't, maybe they should hire him because boy, Selvin is like riding with them into the sunset. Lord have mercy. Lucky Buddy says new meme is coming. Oh, YouTuber says, oh, Selvin has a nice voice. Yeah, man, not too bad, not at all. So Zachary, let me tell you about this guy. I think we kind of mentioned him, but his name is Zachary Harding. He was the campaign manager for the PPM, and he's a prominent figure in Jamaica. He's ran campaigns. He's supposed to be a strategic business developer and all sorts of stuff, marketing and blah, blah, blah. But he is very much tied to which political party in Jamaica? And his father was Ozzie Harding, which is a veteran of Jamaican politics. And so very distinguished and influential figure in Jamaican politics. And so then his son obviously has a background in this. He's a background as a DJ. He has supposedly a strategic vision, innovative thinking. This is his whole bio online. But he was the one who actually told them, according to my sources, he was the one who told them that the last time that they lost the election was partly because of CMR. And so what they needed to do this time around was they needed to ensure that they could neutralize CMR. And the other thing he told them is this thing about working with candidates who were not like part of the official party as, you know, they're running as independents, but lying that was not a good idea. And that's why you saw people like Kenneth had to rejoin the party, became deputy leader. Like their strategy in terms of that was a little bit different as well. And so they were putting out all sorts of ridiculous narrative out there about, oh, you know, CMR, she's a big bad wolf, she's a big bad bully, blah, 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 blah. And still, you know, thousands of people would be here watching every single episode during the election season and keeping informed. So didn't quite work out for them. We'll see what they bring the next 4 years. But I think they need a whole reboot over at the Progressives. Like they need to listen to the people. If they ever hope to get elected to form a government again, they're at a loss. So they need a complete reboot. I'm just saying. What a hot mess. All right. Well, we know that Selvin is alive and well. So that's good to know. He said he's been busy at work. I didn't even know the dude had a job because he was here like the rest of us every morning. We were like, hey, Selvin. Oh, well, he did admit, I think there was that micro moment. You know, in body language, there's such a thing about these micro moments, micro sayings and stuff, right? So you heard what he said, that he was licking his wounds. That was like the first thing he said. That was the truth. That's exactly what's going on. He's feeling upset that they didn't take the government. He's still like a little cat. Dogs lick themselves too. Licking his wounds, licking himself. Aw, poor Ting. You'll be all right, honey, chill. So lots of money being swirled around the place. And despite what these people are out there putting into the ethos, including Selvin, you heard how he tried to take a jab at me about, oh, you know, they were advertising when you saw CMR packages. A lot of the candidates decided, the vast majority of candidates did not advertise with CMR. So child, I ain't make no pile of money. And there's some people who still owe me money. So I'm still trying to collect my money. I'm just saying. So, you know, it is what it is. What a hot mess. But we want to know whether or not the Progressives will be penalized. Somebody was asking how much. If it's going to be $1,000, then that'll make no sense. So, yeah. What a hot mess. Ay, ay, ay. Whew, okay, then. We'll find out. We will certainly find out. And then what do you think? Like if you donated $200,000 to a party and they're sitting on the back bench, child, I'd be like, how y'all gonna work back my money? Y'all better come and start twerking in front of me, entertaining me some kind of way. Make Kenneth be a DJ, you know, on DMS station, something to work that money back. Oh, that could be a side gig. Kenneth, I just gave you a great idea. DJing over at Stingray Media. Come on after my show. I'm on till 9:30, the morning DJ show. You can work off the $200,000 that way. It might take a while, a couple decades, about 50 years, but still, you know. All right, one more thing here this morning. This one's kind of interesting. Make Kenneth, this person says, make Kenneth twerk and drop it like it's hot. Yeah, buddy. Bring it home, honey child. All right, so Mr. What's his name? Elio Solomon is no longer a controversial figure in his own right. He has been removed as board chairman of the Cayman Islands Turtle Conservation Education Center, aka Turtle Farm. He's no longer the chairman. He's been replaced by Mr. Vassal Johnson Jr. Hot tamales. Yes, sir. What else is making the rounds this morning? You guys know I had to bring this one for you. This is the funniest thing after sliced bread. And honey child, it's called fried chicken. Big shout out to my Jamaican brothers and sisters who apparently can't get enough of KFC. So KFC is celebrating their anniversary there in Jamaica, 50 years, I think it is. And boy, let me tell you something. No, sir. These people are cray-cray for KFC. Now, I don't know. I don't know about y'all, but I don't like KFC that much. As a matter of fact, there's something in their oil that doesn't sit well with me. So I don't normally eat KFC at all. But of course, Jamaicans claim that their KFC is better than anybody else's. And they love them a KFC. And apparently they were going on the most, and I do mean the most, from the election, from this 50th anniversary celebration. They put the chicken on sale. How do you put KFC on sale? Are you giving it away for free? I don't know about this. But anywho, it's a big sales situation. And let me show you guys one of the videos. Hold on one second now. I'm going to show you all this. Somebody said, yeah, man, Jamaican KFC different still. They put an extra sauce in it. I don't know what they put. I don't know what they're putting in it. But what I do know is Jamaicans love them at KFC. You want to become a millionaire in Jamaica? Just open up a KFC franchise. I mean, the franchise is already there. Open up a location. Because, yeah, boy, I'm trying to get my video ready. They love, I mean, they've been fighting over KFC. Now, look at this person. Now, a lot of Jamaicans don't even wear seatbelts themselves. But they put the KFC in the front seat and buckle it up. Making sure that the KFC is not going to fly out of the car. It's going to be safe. Oh my God, this is like the funniest thing ever. Seriously, y'all are just too much. I have never buckled in food before. Not even me. As much as I love food, I have never buckled in food before. That is so next level crazy. You got to love it, though. You absolutely got to love it. They have a special buy 3-piece and get a 2-piece free or something like that. Well, I know enough of them eating it. Andrew says people in Jamaica will run you over for KFC. Something must be in that chicken. Child, I'm convinced that they put in a little bit of the stuff that they put in the marijuana. They must have put that in the damn KFC because, boy, they are addictive. Yes, Anthony, they say it is the best. That's because they had nothing else. Franchise ownership has to abide by franchise rules and ingredients. Chicken is a luxury in Jamaica to the detriment of its people to protect their own business interests. Let's face it. Well, even my husband, because y'all know he's a Jamaican 100%. And even to him, Marlon be like, when we go there, oh yeah, let's stop in at KFC. And he's not really a fast food person. And I, me trying to be rolling my eyes. The first time we went to Jamaica together, the first meal we had in Jamaica was we stopped at some mall because he wanted me to try the Jamaican KFC because he swears, just like every other Jamaican, that their KFC is better than any other KFC in the world. I'm just like, I don't know, boy. And I tasted it. I'm like, all right. Like, I don't necessarily have a problem with the chicken. Like, it's all right. I mean, yeah. I mean, I do like their, what they call it, how many spices or whatever. But like I said, there's something with it that just doesn't agree with my stomach. So I don't really eat it often because I think it's the oil or something that they use. Just don't like my tummy, or my tummy doesn't like their oil. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Is it better? I'm not too sure about that. They're having problems playing that video. Oh man, we can't see the video. That video was cray-cray. It was really crazy. So I'll see if I can find it again and share it with you guys. But yeah, I don't know, honey chill. They claim it's better. Andrew says, Sandra, you're a real comedian. Kenneth twerking and dropping Chippendales. Hello. In a DJ booth with a pole and a little Chippendales bikini. Remember now? I mean, he has a dad body now, I think. But there was a time when Kenneth won, what's it called? Mr. K-Man or something. He was like Mr. K-Man, world ruler or something, before the days of politics. Philip says, amazing how Jamaican politics still find their way into our politics. No wonder John does so well in BT East with all the Jamaican Caymanians. Oh, of course. Total integration. Listen. Anthony says, did Kenneth get a rebate from CMR yet? Nope. No refunds. And that was clearly understood. You don't get any refunds. Oh, sorry, Bobo. I told you that. No credit either. That's the same thing. No refunds, no credit. You had the opportunity to use it and you didn't. That's your business. I suggested he could do a show. Maybe he wants to be part of the CMR family. But I don't know if y'all gonna listen. So a police officer had to use pepper spray to get out of the building with their 10,000 boxes. So the police were there buying the chicken too? Oh my God. Best dress is king. The government has a 250% import duty on chicken just to protect one business interest. Most Jamaicans can only afford chicken back. Lord Jesus. Well, honey child, KFC having anniversary sale. Shoot, they should just give the chicken away, as far as I'm concerned. Because, Jamaicans support them. I've never seen anything like it. There's a line. Every single time you go to KFC in Jamaica, there is a line. I'm just like, what? A line. That's so crazy. A line to KFC. They be lined up. Oh, don't go at lunchtime. Someone said, no, don't give Kenneth no show. That's what he wants to get his clout. Lord have mercy. Don't pay no mind to what this woman is saying. Big bellies are in. Make Kenneth twerk and drop it like it's hot. Listen, dad bods are in now. Yes, I mean, that's a thing. Marlon got a little bit of a dad bod now as well. And yeah, I'm all about it. I can see how it's twerking and working it, honey, chill. I make fun of him. I'm like, oh yeah, because he's like skinny mini. I'm like, yeah, you got a dad bod now, though. You sit there. Talking about you skinny. I said, everybody who's skinny at some point in their life might have a fat moment. He's got that just a little pouch. But somehow he still manages to wear the same size pants. And I want to know, how the hell is that possible? How are you still squeezing into the same skinny pants? That's because they wear it below the belt, below the belly. This person says, that's a norm for my son to buckle his food. Really? Y'all be concerned the most. All right, here we got some KFC videos. Hold on, honey child. Here we go. This is the madness. Oh, this is the pepper spray one in downtown. Oh my God. Let me see now. I'm gonna put these together and put these on our platform because this is. Lord Jesus. Look at the bags. Oh my God. He actually pepper sprayed people. Does he's in uniform? Getting his chicken? Does this guy still have a job? Look at him. Does he still have a job? Police pepper spraying people to get buckets of chicken? Wow. I gotta admit, that's one of the craziest things I've seen in a hot minute. All right, let's look at another video. Damn. Pepper spraying people. That is just wrong.
I love KFC chicken.
I did that year before you. A 2-piece of oil-soaked chicken we are fight over.
Wow. All right, one more video. This is crazy. Oh my God. Lord Jesus.
50th anniversary, and look what happened.
They're trying to draw down the shutter to shut them out. OMG. KFC, and the police is here. Control the Kentucky chicken line. So the big car come.
Up over there to go get him.
More police. Watch out. Watch it. Oh my God. Look at this. See? Private car with police. Police vehicle. Control the crowd for the chicken. The KFC chicken. OMG. Are the police come for their chicken too? The policeman stepped up.
Reporting live.
Reporting live.
Hallelujah.
Oh my God. So the popo, they weren't there to control the crowd. They were there to get their own chicken. They were like, forget you people. KK says, no matter what time you reach Jamaica, pure line you're bucking up on, no sir. Denny says the problem with KFC is that they use seed oil and cook at high temperatures. I think that's pretty much most fried chicken. Although you can bake chicken and get it tasting almost like fried chicken, you know, or put it in the what are these new Fandango things called again? The things that you can pull out and they're supposed to be healthier for you. Oh Lord have mercy. What's it called again? El Ray says, risking life and limb for KFC, no air fryer. There you go. You can air fry it and stuff as well. But I don't normally I don't deep fry stuff like that. So if I'm going to do fried chicken, it's actually baked chicken. But it's nice and crunchy. You just got to get your seasoning right and stuff like that. All right, folks. Air fryer. Yes, sir. All right. Anywho, there you go. Congratulations, KFC, I guess, on your 5th anniversary. Folks, tomorrow is Friday, and we have another amazing group coming on. This is a trio who are going to be coming on to tomorrow's program, and they are going to be telling us about their program that they're going to be hosting on CMR. So I gotta go because I'm extremely busy trying to pull all the elements of CMR TV together. So I'm meeting with like individual content creators and all this other stuff. There's lots of moving parts behind it. So yep, I gotta go and get to work. And I know you all have to get to work as well. So big shout out Instagram. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but for the past week and a half, I haven't had to restart the Instagram feed, knock on wood, double knock, because that's good. Because child, that was annoying me. I'm going to take my little medication for my knee. Let me take this now. Oh, I didn't take any last night. I was trying to see how I was doing without it because I only have one tablet left. But child, that knee was still paining me. And look at these horse tablets. 600 milligrams of what this one is, ibuprofen. But somebody told me about one that has, it's like an ibuprofen and the other one in one. So I'm going to try that afterwards because I don't like taking high dosages of stuff for long because it's actually not good for your heart. But anyway, I'm going to take this one. And I saw Zeus this morning. Oh, by the way, tomorrow is Take Your Dog to Work Day. So Zeus will be in the studio with me. And I saw him playing this morning. He found a ball. Don't ask me where he got it from. But he found a new ball and he was like bouncing it. Like he loves to play football and stuff. Like, oh God, you take him out in the yard and you kick around a football. He runs, he grabs it, he brings it back to you. Oh, he's the sweetest little thing. And he has his summer cut. So you guys will get to see him with his little summer cut. He is such a sweet dog. Oh my gosh. Oh. Anyway, I'll bring him to work. I'll have him in the studio tomorrow. But I noticed this morning when I was coming in the studio, he was out in the hallway playing by himself with a little bounce. He would like bounce it and then pick it back up and bounce it. He's such a doll. All right. Andrew says, gosh, I'm Jamaican Caymanian. This is truly appalling to see this behavior from police and citizens for chicken that they're purchasing. Wow. Lose your life over KFC. Evelyn says, well, I take mine to work every single day. I saw yours in the car the other day. So cute. All right, folks. One other quick thing. Advil Dual Action. That's the one that I'm going to be trying. One other quick note. We only have 2 dash cams left in stock, but fear not. I'm putting in the next order today. And so the next order will probably be here in another week, week and a half. So if you've not gotten your dash cams yet, I don't know what you're waiting for, honey child. You're waiting for somebody to run into you. And then you go, damn, Sandy, should have had that dash cam. By the way, when you purchase it, you do have to adjust a couple settings. So I'm going to spend some time, maybe one day next week, a half an hour, whatever, going through the settings, because I think that from here I can connect to it. It's like 6.5 feet or 6.6 feet or something that you can connect to it. So I'm going to connect to my dash cam, and then we can go through all the settings and stuff. So look out for that little tutorial segment. And yeah, I'll get you guys sorted out with that, because you got to adjust your settings, because, you know, there's different things in there that you need to be aware of. So we'll go through all of the elements of that. But yes, more are coming. The last batch went really, really quickly. So reach out to me if you need a dash cam, because listen, honestly, it's money well spent. One guy got one from his wife. I think it might have been his Father's Day gift. He called me yesterday. He's like, oh my God, this is honestly an amazing dash cam. The quality is so great. And he really, really loves it. And I said, yeah, listen, I'm not selling you guys something that I don't use in my own car. You know, I use this in my car, and I'm only using the best when it comes to road safety, because y'all crazy on the streets. So yes, we'll go through those settings one day. All right, that's all she wrote. I've got work to do. You guys have a pleasant day. Andrew says dogs are angels. I had 14 dogs in Jamaica. How on earth do you manage with 14 dogs? That's a lot of feeding. Oh my goodness. I'd probably forget their names. All right. You guys have a fantastic day, folks. See you tomorrow morning, because it's Friday.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels. And visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.